A warm welcome to everybody for this event, Have a Heart Day 2021. This is in collaboration with Lives for Literacy, a grassroots movement started by President and founder Yasmin Farah Peer. And so today I am here to talk about Have a Heart's Day, which is a child and youth-led reconciliation event. It is being conducted by myself, a Canadian national organizer for Amnesty International Canada. And so just a disclaimer, a warm welcome to everybody to Lives for Literacy. This webinar is hosted in collaboration with the Canadian National Organizer from Amnesty International. This webinar will be recorded, therefore if you're not comfortable with having your video or your voice recorded, please stay mute. And so land acknowledgement. In Canada, we do something called a land acknowledgement. And because Lives for Literacy is founded on the lands of Montreal, we would like to begin today's event by acknowledging the traditional lands in which we operate. These are the unceded territory of the Mohawk, a place that has long served as a site of meeting and exchange amongst nations. So why do we do land acknowledgements? This is to show respect for the land in Canada. It is a part of the movement towards reconciliation. We acknowledge that the land Lives for Literacy operates on has Asian traditional roots and relationships. And so for today's agenda, I just want to give a warm welcome to everybody that is there in our audience. And so a little about myself, what is Have a Heart Day, create cards of how to, and then closing remarks. So about myself, I am a Canadian national organizer for Amnesty International Canada. I'm also a medical student at St. James School of Medicine. I graduated from Concordia University with a Bachelor of Science in Biology and a minor in Human Rights in 2018. I've interacted with a lot of vulnerable populations from Canada, South Africa, Costa Rica, and Angola. And so this has got me very passionate about advocacy. And so here I am presenting to you on Have a Heart Day. And so now comes to Have a Heart Day. The question that I have, or like the introduction that I have for Have a Heart Day, is for us to watch a video. Can you guys hear or can you not hear? Alexa, Yasmin?
No.
Okay, let me try to share sound. Okay, tell me if you hear now.
Be a teacher.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
My dream is to be a teacher.
My dream is to be an architect.
My dream is to be a doctor.
My dream is to be a video game designer.
My dream is to be a teacher.
My dream is to be a police officer when I grow up.
All kids have dreams.
So why do First Nations kids get 30 to 50% less government funding for their education on reserve?
You know, what a lot of people don't understand is that First Nations children who are residing on reserve get less funding for every public service compared to other children. The reason for this inequality is that although provincial education, health, and child welfare laws apply on and off reserve, the federal government of Canada pays for services like education on reserve, whereas it's paid by the provincial governments for all other children and young people in Canada. And as the Auditor General and many others have noted, in almost every area of First Nations children's experience, they get between 20 and 30% less funding than non-Aboriginal children. And this has been going on for decades.
On reserve, schools get about $4,000 less per student per year compared to provincially funded schools. But that's a national average, meaning that's across the whole country. So if you go in some regions, the gap is even bigger. I was talking to a principal of a school in James Bay region of Ontario, and he was telling me that the gap for them compared to provincially funded French immersion schools close by is probably closer to $17,000 per student per year, which is pretty significant when you add it up over like a classroom of 20 students, right? You're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars disparity.
In the Canada of my dreams, all kids.
All kids.
all kids,
including First Nation kids on reserves.
Have fair funding for
school sports teams,
technology,
language and culture, science labs,
excellent teachers and specialists,
and healthy food.
I was up north teaching in 2007-2008, and at that time there were, I think, 4 computers for 300 students in the school. There were, in a class of 40 students for a math class, there was maybe 10 textbooks. So the lack of supplies, even in terms of like paper and pencils and erasers and things like that, the school does provide that stuff, but in such a limited way that it's not feasible for all kids to have access to those supplies.
And so we see our students falling between the gaps, whether that's academically, socially, spiritually. All of those elements of their total well-being, we need a holistic system and funded properly so that our students can regain who they are as a people, and so that our nationhood comes back fully. And that the start of it is to have equality of funding.
Well, the reason that I care about the funding gap is because I think that every child in this country deserves an equal opportunity to learn, to thrive, to be healthy, and to reach their dreams. I think it's a matter of human rights and of fairness and of justice, and I think Canadians, if we live up to those values, should care too.
I think once the proper funding is in place, who knows how far our children will go.
If we could see the equality come into place, you would see First Nations people thrive. You would see our students, stand up. You would see them in the workforce. You would see that pride build. It would be amazing if only we could reach equality in this country.
If we really are a society that's comfortable at any level to have children racially discriminated against so that we can host the Olympics, so that we can build a brand new highway, so that we can do all of these things, then let's put that right up there with the national anthem. Let's own that description. But if racial discrimination against kids or against anyone is something that we're all against, which I believe to be true in this society, then people have to take action to end it.
For First Nations children. And so now, basically, for us as Amnesty International Canada national organizers, we've gathered here today with all of you to stand up for human rights of these children. And these are just some images of other youth across Canada that have decided to take action just like us. So we stand with the Indigenous children. So what is HaveAHeartDay? I couldn't have explained it much better than the video, but it's a child and youth-led reconciliation event that is held annually to ensure that First Nations children have the services they need to grow up safely at home, get a good education, be healthy, and to be most importantly proud of who they are. So why is this so important? Is because education is a human right. Having this human right ensures the development of a fully rounded human being. It uplifts individuals from poverty. It gives them an empowerment to do what they want and to aspire, to have dreams, to be capable of making change in their own communities. It also narrows the gender gap for girls and women, which is a problem in many countries around the world. But how is this right to education ensured, and why are we here as Amnesty International youth organizers? Is because there's two means: normative international instruments and political commitments by governments. Therefore, we as Amnesty International Canada national organizers are here to write a letter to the Canadian government, to our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. And so, nonetheless, usually we'd be meeting in person physically to host this event, but because this year Spirit Bear is also hibernating for health, Nonetheless, because of COVID-19, we, as well as he, is also working hard to defend the rights and the futures of these First Nations kids. And so for Have a Heart Day, a lot of the events this month are being conducted virtually online. And so now I would like to just give you some ideas in terms of cards that you can create and send to me via email or to mail to my address, for then I will send to Justin Trudeau. So now when it comes to what to write in the Have a Heart Day cards, it's important to mention that First Nations children should not have to fight for the services all other Canadians enjoy. Ensuring equal funding for children across Canada, be it Aboriginal or non-Aboriginal, should be the same. There shouldn't be any discrimination, racial injustice. None of that should exist in our Canadian system, in our Canadian lifestyle. And so therefore, in this letter that you write, it's important to mention that it's important to give First Nations children the same chance to grow up safely at home, to get a good education, to be healthy and proud of their cultures. There should be no injustice to children who are the future of our country, be it Aboriginal or non-Aboriginal. And so it is time for us to end the inequalities that Indigenous children have faced, which is long overdue. And so now, how can you help? You can help by going outside in the snow and creating snow spirit bears. Post these pictures or share these pictures on social media. Use hashtags HaveAHeartDay and or Journée Aie Encore and tag the Prime Minister and MPs on social media. You can send a Valentine's Day card or a letter supporting Have a Heart Day, just like many of us national organizers. You can host a socially distanced or an online Valentine's Day party to raise awareness in your school or community. There is never enough that you can do to take action, to create an impact, no matter where you are, no matter how small. And so I would kindly request everybody to just take some time to write down a few letters, a few notes, a few messages that you would want the Canadian Prime Minister and the Canadian MPs, those in political power, to hear. Our voice is important. Your voice is important. Never underestimate or think that your voice has no impact. You never know which group of committed individuals whose voices have an impact. So never think that you're too small to make a difference. And so I just want to send a huge thank you to everybody that has participated in this event for me, with me, listened to me, that is raising their voice in standing up for First Nations children, for fighting for their human rights, for raising your voices so that these children may grow up with their families and communities, to get a good education, to be healthy, and to be proud of who they are. And so now, I do not want to take much of your time, but feel free to send the letters to livesforliteracy@gmail.com, which will then be forwarded to me, Leah, and then I shall send them virtually via email to Amnesty International Canada, and the handwritten ones I shall send directly to Justin Trudeau at Parliament Hill. And so for closing remarks, I want to thank all participants, and especially Alexa, for a fellow national organizer, for taking the time to be present at this event with us. It truly means the world.